of the order paper.
All right, so the first ministerial statement will come from the Minister of Community Development and Social Services, and this ministerial statement is on the progress made in the implementation of the Emergency Cash Transfer Program.
And the other ministerial statement is expected to be rendered by the Minister of Energy on the electricity situation in the country.
So once those two ministerial statements are presented, starting with the first one, which will come from the Minister of Community Development and Social Services, members of Parliament will be accorded that opportunity to ask follow-up questions seeking clarity from the respected minister. We do have 6 questions for oral answer, like my colleague mentioned earlier on. These are falling under Standing Order 80. The first one comes from Lundazi Member of Parliament, Ms. Brenda Nyirenda, and she is directing her question to the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development. She would like to find out whether the government has any plans to construct a modern bus station in Lundazi Parliamentary constituency. If so, when the plans will be implemented.
We also have a question coming from Lufubu Member of Parliament, Mr. Wesley Kolala, and is expected to ask the question to the Minister of Mines and Minerals Development. The first part of the question, whether government is aware of the mining activities in Kantobo Mine in Gabwe Chiefdom in Lufubu Parliamentary constituency, and if so, when the company was awarded the license to conduct the mining activities in the area, and what minerals are being extracted from the mine, and Part D, why the local traditional leadership was not notified of the mining activities, and Part E, what measures are being taken to ensure the local community benefits from the mining activities.
Last week on Friday, the 13th day in the month of September 2024, we did witness the Republican President officially opening the 4th session of the 13th Assembly, and it was a very colorful event here at Parliament grounds and inside the chamber where a presidential address was delivered. And yesterday we did see the Member of Parliament from the Copper Belt, Ms. Hudson Mabeta, move a motion, and seconded by Ron, Member of Parliament. And today we expect members of Parliament to debate the motion thanks to the President's address. This is the motion of 17th September. There will be resumption of debate. And probably any time from now we'll be able to see the presiding officer making their way to the chamber. That will signify the commencement of today's business. But let's quickly look at other questions that are expected on the floor of the House today.
Yes, other questions expected on the floor of the House is coming from Lobezi Member of Parliament, Mr. Mabenga, and he's directed his question to the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, in which he wants to find out why some councils have not been painting faded road markings and speed humps within their local localities. And just now on the screen is the Speaker's procession making its way into the House. For now, we ask you to keep watching Parliament Television.
Honorable Members of Parliament, Madam Speaker.
Let's celebrate Zambia, Zambia, Zambia. Remember under the of our life, Zambia, rest to thee, O one, strong and free.
Prayer. Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness has appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to consider with your abundant favor us your servants whom you've been pleased to call to the performance of such important responsibilities in this land. Let your blessing descend upon us here in Parliament assembled, and grant that we may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and of those whose interests you've committed to our charge. Amen. Honorable members, I have some announcements to make. Honorable members, I wish to recognize the presence in the public gallery of pupils and teachers from Chadley House School in Lusaka District. You may stand. On behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, I warmly welcome our visitors in our midst. You may take your seats and thank you. The second announcement, honorable members, I wish to recognize the presence in the public gallery of pupils and teachers from Lilai Secondary School in Chilanga District. On behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, I warmly welcome our visitors in our midst. I thank you. You may be seated. The third announcement, honorable members, I wish to recognize the presence in the public gallery of pupils and teachers from Crowned Eagle School in Lusaka District. On behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, I warmly welcome our visitors in our midst. I thank you. You may take your seat. The next announcement, honorable members, I wish to recognize the presence in the public gallery of the youth politicians from Sweden, representatives from the UNICEF Zambia Vaccine Alliance, Gavi, Global Fund, and representatives of various youth organizations in Zambia. On behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, I warmly welcome our visitors in our midst. You may take your seat. The next announcement, I wish to inform the House that the National Assembly of Zambia has established the Zambia Parliamentary Caucus on post-legislative scrutiny, a voluntary group consisting of members of Parliament who are passionate about the implementation and effectiveness of legislation following its enactment. The caucus is therefore set to be launched on Thursday, 19th September 2024 in the amphitheater at Parliament buildings at 10 on Saturday, at Parliament building at 10 hours. 19th September 2024 in the amphitheater at Parliament building at 10 hours. In this regard, all honorable members of Parliament are encouraged to attend the event. Please note that the attendance will be on voluntary basis. I thank you. The last announcement, honorable members, I wish to inform the House that the National Assembly is in the process of producing a legislative chart bearing photographs of all members of Parliament or the 13th National Assembly. In this regard, an officer from the Public and International Relations Department will be stationed at the main reception of Parliament buildings from today, Wednesday 18th, to Friday, 20th September 2024, to take photographs of all members of Parliament. I urge all members to ensure their photographs are taken within the stipulated period. I thank you. We move to the next segment, urgent matters without notice. I see none. I have permitted the Honorable Minister of Community Development and Social Services to present a ministerial statement. The Honorable Minister of Community Development and Social Services.
Madam Speaker, I wish to thank you for according me this opportunity to issue a ministerial statement on the progress made in the implementation of the emergency cash transfer in the 84 districts affected by drought. Madam Speaker, following the declaration of drought as a national disaster by the President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, the government has been implementing various drought response interventions. Government, through the Ministry of Community Development and Social Services, has made some significant progress on expanding coverage of the social cash transfer program to include households affected by drought in 84 districts. Madam Speaker, the House will recall that following a rapid assessment of households affected by drought, which was conducted by the Ministry, 1.2 million households were targeted and successfully registered in a period of 6 weeks. Madam Speaker, I'm happy to report that at July 2024, government disbursed funds amounting to 1.8 billion kwacha to facilitate the payment of emergency cash transfers for the May-June cycle. Emergency cash transfer. Beneficiaries of the emergency cash transfer are receiving a 400 kwacha per month for a period of 12 months. The first cycle of payments covering the months of May, June have been made to 886,311 out of the targeted 952,570 hundreds of households in 116 districts. Madam Speaker, allow me to state that of the targeted 726,361 beneficiary households in the 84 districts affected by drought, 682,779 received their cash transfer benefit, representing a 94% payment rate. Madam Speaker, regular social cash transfer, 1,258,666 beneficiaries out of the targeted 1,311,101 under the regular social cash transfer have received a 400 top-up on the 400 bi-monthly regular cash transfer. Further, 551,428 households on the regular cash transfer received cash transfers out of the targeted 574,405 households, representing 96% payment rate. The House may wish to note that preparations for the disbursements of the funds for the second cycle, which is September to October 2024, have commenced. Honorable members are encouraged to work together with the ministry and report any challenges that will be faced by beneficiaries in accessing the emergency social cash transfer, as well as other social protection services delivered by government. Madam Speaker, as I conclude, I wish to reiterate that government will continue to undertake measures aimed at improving the welfare and livelihoods of the vulnerable in our communities, as they are the most affected in times of drought and other shocks induced by climate change. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. Honorable members are now free to ask questions on points of clarification on the ministerial statement presented by the Acting Minister of Community Development and Social Services. Order, honorable members. I see none. To present a ministerial statement. The Honorable Order, the Acting Minister of Energy. Oh, sorry. The Minister of Energy. Sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for allowing me to give ministerial statement on the electricity situation in the country. Madam Speaker, I wish to thank you for according me this opportunity to issue a ministerial statement on the electricity situation in the country.
Order, honorable members. This is an important topic which we believe the public are also listening to. Can we have order? The Honorable Minister, you may continue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The statement will also outline the measures being implemented to mitigate the impact of the power deficit. Energy is to the country's economy what water is to flourish, an essential element that sustains growth and prosperity. It's the power industry, fuels, transportation, lights up homes, providing the foundation upon which our economy engines thrives. The availability and affordability of energy sources have a direct impact on our productive and quality of life. In today's rapid change world, the need for reliable and sustainable energy supply has never been more urgent. As we explore the challenges and opportunities in the energy sector, we must strive to strike a balance between economic growth and environmental responsibility. Only by harnessing the power of innovation and collaboration can we ensure a bright and prosperous future for generations to come. Madam Speaker, I wish to report that the country's installed electricity generation capacity stands at 3,777 megawatts, with hydropower accounting for 85%. The peak demand is estimated at 2,400 megawatts. Currently, the country's power generation stands at 1,019 megawatts, presenting a deficit of 1,381 megawatts, thus leading to the current average of 21 hours of load shedding. Madam Speaker, there are a number of factors leading to the current long hours of load shedding. Principal among them include: 1, the low water levels in the major reservoirs. This is due to low water levels following the below normal rainfall patterns experienced during the 2023-2024 season because of El Nino drought phenomenon, leading to the scaling down of power generation at hydropower plants. And number 2, Madam Speaker, annual maintenance works at the 300 megawatts Mamba Coal plant. Mamba Energies, Madam Speaker, commenced their mandatory biannual maintenance works on the 27th August 2024 in a phased manner. Maintenance for the first unit has since been completed. The second unit was taken out on the 17th September 2024, and the exercise is expected to be completed by the 1st October 2024. This entails that only 150 megawatts from Mamba Coal Plant is available during this period. Madam Speaker, despite these challenges, the following short to medium and long-term measures have been put in place to address the situation. In a short-term measures, Madam Speaker, importation of power. This country is importing about 450 megawatts of power and is thus determined by availability of power on the Southern African power pool market and transmission capacity. And number 2, Madam Speaker, installation of 23 diesel generators. A schedule to install 23 diesel generators amounting to 12.2 megawatts in strategic institutions such as water utilities and markets is already on course. Number 3, Madam Speaker, clawback of 290 megawatts of power from exports. ZESCO has so far clawed back 290 megawatts of power from the export market to mitigate the current deficit. And number 4, Madam Speaker, introduction of solar loan scheme system. Government, through the Public Service Microfinance Company, has introduced a facility to enable civil servants to access solar and other products affordably. By so doing, demand for power from the national grid is expected to be reduced, thus making available power for the other users. Medium long-term measures. Madam Speaker, development of 100 megawatt solar PV ZESCO is currently developing a 100 megawatt solar PV power plant in Chisamba. The project is underway with a scheduled duration of 10 months, aiming for completion and commissioning by the end of this year. Number 2, implementation of the 120 megawatts solar PV portfolio, implementation of a 120 megawatts portfolio of solar PV power projects under the Global Energy Transfer Feed-in Tariff program has reached an advanced stage. And number 3, implementation of net metering regime. This plan is designed to allow individuals who generate their own electricity to sell excess power on the market through ZESCO Limited. Thus far, regulations have been formed and put into the law. Number 4. Madam Speaker, development of 300 megawatts Mamba Cholera Project Phase 2. The coal fire plant under a PP arrangement is already underway. The project has 18 months construction time frame, and everything being equal, the project is expected to be completed by 2026. Madam Speaker, signing of Memorandum of Understanding, ZESCO and China Dantang Overseas Investment Co. Limited, as at September 4, 2024, signed an MOU to jointly develop and invest in PV projects at different locations in Zambia. The first of which shall be Iteshteji 100 megawatts, and the other one is Choma 50 megawatts. The third one, Madam Speaker, is Kasama 70 megawatts. The parties in the MOU also agreed and to develop projects on the other sites that may be agreed upon by the parties. And B, the government of the Republic of Zambia and Power China International, the MOU was signed to establish a framework and facilitate the undertaking of national power planning assessment for the development of energy sector projects to ensure stability and the security of power supply in Zambia. The MOU intends to attract great investment and develop the generation and transmission infrastructure. The government of the Republic of Zambia and the TBA, the MOU was signed to facilitate investment by TBA in renewable energy, such as solar, wind, as well as thermal energy. The immediate actions steps by TBA is setting up a 2,000 megawatt solar power plant in Zambia. TBA also plans to start to address the current power deficit and make Zambia a power hub in the region. His Excellency the President, Mr. Hakainde Chilema, is concerned with the plight of the people who are running saloons, barbershop owners, the welders, small businesses, and through me, we are working round the clock to ensure that we alleviate the temporal challenge and would like us to stand as a united Zambia in trying to resolve this crisis. We are in this crisis, all in this together. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. Order, honorable members. Honorable members are now free to ask questions on points of clarification on the ministerial statement presented by the Honorable Minister of Energy. The Honorable Member for Lufubu.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, from your statement, you've not talked about importing power. Would you please explain it in details? What is it that really has been a problem that we can import power so that at least if the load shedding was to come back at least to 8 hours than the way it is where the whole day is going without power? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Member. Indeed, why are we taking long to import power? I think in my statement, I've mentioned that about 450 megawatts is being imported to mitigate this challenge we are going through. But we need to understand that for us also to import, for ZESCO to import, there are other factors that need to be put in consideration. One is the source of where to get this power. Secondly, also we need to look at the infrastructure that we have in a country. Did we invest in this infrastructure so that in time like this one, we can import this power? So these are the areas now we are trying to work around the clock so that we can increase in terms of importation to mitigate the crisis the people are facing. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Chikankata.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Minister, for your good statement. Minister, Tanzania is one of the countries that have excess energy in the region, but I know that we have a challenge of the infrastructure to connect to Zambia. And I hear that there are plans to come up with infrastructure. So my question is, how soon are you planning to start the implementation of the infrastructure to connect Zambia to Tanzania? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And thank you very much, Honorable Member for Chikankata. Madam Speaker, as a country, amongst the interventions that we are putting in place to make sure that this country becomes energy secure, one of the interventions that we have put in place is to invest in energy infrastructure. So the interconnector for Zambia, Tanzania, and Kenya, feasibility studies are underway. So we are likely to conclude on the feasibility studies by month of October. And things being equal, these are interventions which are in the long-term measure. I thank you.
The Honorable Member for Kabwe Central.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity to ask a follow-up question. And Minister, thank you so much for your ministerial statement. And we appreciate that the government is doing a lot in order to mitigate the road shedding that we have in the country. Now, Minister, you know that because of shortage of power, we have also a problem of water, a bit of water in our communities. And that unfortunately, there's no replacement, there's no substitute to water. Yes, with power, you can use other sources. Do you have any plans to install dedicated lines to all water pumps so that we have at least water in our communities? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Energy. You didn't get the question? Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kabwe Central, please repeat your question.
Thank you so much. Minister, what I'm trying to ask is, we have got no alternative to water, and we don't have water in the communities because of non-availability of power to the pump houses. So do you have any plans to install dedicated line or to assign dedicated going to the pump where there are water pumps, so that even if there is load shedding, you switch power from the other communities, but at least the pump houses, at least the pumps will have electricity, so that there is continuous supply of water to our communities. Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Member. Indeed, water is life, and with this crisis that we are going through, the supply of water has been seriously affected. Hence, Madam Speaker, in my statement, I did say that all our important points for water supply from the water utilities have been also provided this genset in the immediate to make sure that in the time they are load shedded, the genset will start providing power to continue the supply of water. And also in the long term, the experts from ZESCO are trying to make sure that going forward, utilities like hospitals, water entities are given their own lines without, disturbing other consumers for water. So this is what has been put in place, or which is being put in place to mitigate the challenge of water crisis in this country.
The Honorable Member for Pemba.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. And thank you so much, Honorable Minister and the government, for the measures that are being put in place, the medium, short term and long term. Honorable Minister, you talked of the memorandum of understanding signed between ZESCO and China to put up the solar power plants at Iteshtezi, Choma, and Kasama. Could you kindly share with the House the duration for this program to kick off and to end? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Indeed, I did mention that the China Danta Overseas Investment will put up 100 megawatts, Iteshtezi, and 50 megawatts for Choma, and 70 megawatts for Kasama. These are in the long-term measures, and the estimated time frame for this is 12 months. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Mitete.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Minister, thank you so very much for that statement. In the short term, you mentioned of Mamba. Is this going to increase come October in terms of supply? Since you said 1st October they'll be done, are we going to see an improvement in terms of load shedding in short-term measures. Madam Speaker, thank you so much.
The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Thank you very much. Madam Speaker, I did mention that Mamba Energies are going through the biannual maintenance. And when they are going through this process, it means the supply that they have been feeding into the national grid has been withdrawn. Here we are talking about 150 megawatts that has been withdrawn. So by 1st October, this 150 megawatts, it is going to be put back and that entails that 100% supply of power that comes from energy, from Mamba Energies, it will support ZESCO deficit, meaning there will be stability in terms of the load shedding hours that we are going through now. So there's much hope that when we get back, when Mamba gives us back that 150, there will be stability in terms of load shedding. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Bwengwa.
Thank you very much, Honorable Madam Speaker. Minister, thank you for your statement, and we commend you for the effort you are trying to put as government under your ministry to try and find a solution to end this power deficit which we have in the country. However, Honorable Minister, I think majority of Zambian people are not well sensitized, over the reason why we are in this crisis. What is the government doing, especially your ministry, to make sure that the citizens of this country are well sensitized so that we move at the same pace, so that they understand the reason why we are in this crisis? Thank you so much, Honorable Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Member, for that concern. Indeed, Madam Speaker, the ministry, we have come up with updating the nation on the situation in the energy sector that the country is going through. So these are weekly briefs which makes us to update our people, and at the same time, we believe that as leaders seated here, that's the more reason I'm giving this ministerial statement, so that together we can help to sensitize, we can help to give the correct information why we have found ourselves in this situation. I'm sure when I concluded my ministerial statement, I said all of us, we are in it together. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Sinazongwe.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, in your statement you did indicate that government is giving out loans to its employees as a way of them having access to loans and buy the solar systems. Now, what I wanted to find out, Honorable Minister, was whether there is any plan from the government pertaining to those who are not in formal employment but want to access electricity by having affordable solar panels. Is there any resources that are made available for an ordinary person like in Sinazongwe, a villager, so that they can access those resources to buy solar systems for their usage in their respective homes? I submit, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you very much, Honorable Member. First of all, Madam Speaker, we are in a crisis, and we are looking at possible means to put interventions to mitigate the crisis. We have felt that by giving this opportunity to the civil servants, those who are in formal employment, they will be able to tap into this opportunity so that the burden of power consumption from the national grid is reduced. Then that power can be provided to an ordinary person who is not in a formal employment. These are the measures to mitigate the crisis that we are going through. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Mufumbwe.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, I would like to thank you, actually, the statement that you have given. And I also want to agree that, indeed, this problem of power has come a long way. We didn't do enough as a country in order to make sure that we have other alternative sources of energy. In your statement, the measures that your government is putting in place, I have not heard you talk about geothermal energy. What is it that the ministry is doing in order to make sure that all sources of energy are brought forward so that at least they can be tapped in? For example, in Kenya, we have got the Great East Valley. And actually in the Northern Circuit, we think that also geothermal can be available. What is it that the government is doing as a long-term measure to make sure that we also tap into that source of energy?
The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Member. Indeed, you are very correct. Amongst other sources of energy, other than hydro, geothermal is one of the interventions that we feel going forward we need to invest in geothermal. As we are talking, Honorable Member, we are trying to create very conducive environment for private players to come in and invest in geothermal. Currently, we have got one which we are closely monitoring to see how it is going to perform in Wengwa constituency. We have got one investor who have come on board to see how we are going to perform in terms of increasing our power supply by using geothermal. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Lundazi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving a chance to the people of Lundazi to ask a follow-up question to the Minister of Energy. Honorable Minister, this lack of energy has killed people in hospitals due to lack of oxygen. This lack of energy has closed barbershops. This lack of energy, saloons are not able to operate. It is a real disaster. Similar situation was happening during the PF government. And you, the UPND, blamed it on poor leadership. What is it that we can say today, apart from poor leadership being the cause of this of this load shedding that we are experiencing today? And in addition, what has made you fail to get even a sheet you've gotten in Mozambique so that you are it's my chance. Can you keep quiet?
Order, honorable members, order.
It's my chance.
Order. The honorable member for Lundazi.
Yes, Madam.
It's one question per member.
Are you able to get us even the expensive electricity so that our people can be saved? Or else you are killing our people and you are to be blamed. I submit.
Before the minister comes in, when you bring such matters such as killing people, you should come with evidence, honorable member, so that we are really sure that there are people that are dying in the hospitals. So please, next time, can you come with evidence to show that the people have died because of lack of power? The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, first of all, I want to correct the thinking of the honorable member that we did blame with the previous regime of lack of leadership. Yes, we did. Because if we invested in the sector, we wouldn't have gone through what we are going through today. The ship the honorable member is talking about, it was not paid for. So, what did they invest in the sector? I have stated in my statement that this is what we are doing as the UPND leadership, the New Dawn government. The measures I have talked about, that is providing leadership, that going forward, energy in this country is secured. These measures will not make this country to be in a shock that we are going through today. So that is leadership. This party has got leadership to solve the crisis. And I was even asking myself that if this crisis found the other regime, what could be the situation in the country? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Kankoyo. Before you come in, there's an indication for a point of order. The Honorable Member for Shiwangandu, what is your point of order?
Madam Speaker, thank you so much. I raise a point of order pursuant to Standing Order 71B. Madam Speaker, indeed we are in a crisis. And if the Honorable Minister wants to behave like a crisis himself, we are even in a deep trouble. Madam Speaker, is the Honorable Minister in order to insinuate that the previous government didn't invest anything in the energy sector when he knows that they inherited 3,000 megawatts, 1,600 megawatts, plus before we even add Mamba, which his colleague here, we advised, exported without taking into account the water levels at Kariba. We knew, Madam Speaker, and we were here advising them. Is it in order to insinuate that he inherited nothing? I know that is just a few weeks old there, and is yet to know the figures and the engineering factors of his ministry. But is in order to forget that there is a colleague of his here who had proposed that we could tap water from Wapula River into Kafue. And if he could be speaking to that investment, then we shall say, now we have got leadership to solve the problem. How much have you invested in the power generation so far before you start peddling those innuendos? Madam Speaker, was in order to spread hot hair without speaking to facts and speaking to figures. I think you're serious, Rui.
The problem with that point of order, you have actually debated the point of order. You have even made suggestions, recommendations, and you've even involved the other people in the point of order. But, honorable members, my guide to you is that we are in a crisis as power is concerned. Can we please find solutions to this problem that is at hand? Let's take this issue or this matter serious. What is the way forward? The minister has mentioned some measures. So if we've got other measures or other thoughts on this matter, please, let's work as a team. The people need your help. Let's work as a team instead of accusing one another. We make progress. The Honorable Member for Solwezi West. Oh, sorry, Honorable Member. There was one member before you. The Honorable Member for Kankoyo.
I thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Minister of Energy has indicated that in October, 150 megawatts from Mamba will come on board, and the government will be able to import power from South Africa through the interconnector in Namibia, which has been down, which is being worked on. So that's basically we're going to have close to 190 plus 150 megawatts of electricity being added on the grid. Now, what I wanted to find out from the minister, with this power coming on board, how many hours of load shedding should we expect in October going forward? Because that will be easy for us to plan and ensure that we are able to live within what we can control. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Member. Currently, Madam Speaker, people are even failing to plan because the way we are managing the load shedding is very, very difficult for our people. Now, with those interventions I've just spoken, which the Honorable Member has confirmed, by importing this power into the country, it will give us proper and proper way of managing the load shedding. As a government, we are planning to make sure that we get back. You remember in my updates, I did state that we are going to provide 17 hours of load shedding. But we couldn't manage simply because of these factors that I have mentioned. Now, with those, with the power that we are going to import, we are likely first to go back to our 17 hours load shedding. People are able to plan very well. And as we continue importing power, we will see ourselves going back to 12 hours. Again, we will continue. We will see ourselves going. Our target as government is to make sure that things being equal the way we have planned, we need to get as much as we can to 5 hours. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Solwezi West.
I thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, we have... Is the Minister listening?
The Honorable Member for Solwezi West, please
Honorable Minister,
continue with your question.
We have lots of uranium deposits in our district, Karumbira. We also have sufficient water bodies in case we went nuclear to cool the reactors. Do you have any plans as government to establish a nuclear plant in that location or any other part of Zambia? Thank you.
Thank you. There's an indication for a point of order before the Minister comes in. The Honorable Member for Wengo, what is your point of order?
Thank you so much, Honorable Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, my point of order, is on the information coming from the Minister. And I'm rising on a point of order pursuant to order number 70, standing order number 71. Madam Speaker, the Minister, in his responses, he is failing to explain to the Zambian people the facts about what transpired in the past during the partial drought in 2019 and in 2017. It was a partial drought. And right now, we have a serious drought where the Kariba now is almost getting. He remembers quite all right that in 2019, 2018 there, when we had serious also load shedding, when a lot of water was also in the Kariba, and people were told by the PF regime that the Zambian people must go to Kariba and urinate so that we have a lot of water. They were teasing the Zambian people. And right now, he's failing to remind the PF that these are the very people who told the Zambian people to go and urinate so that we can have a lot of water in the Kariba Dam. Is he in order not to remind the Zambian people? Thank you so much, Honorable Madam Speaker.
Order, honorable members. The Honorable Member for Wengwa, you are actually out of order yourself, because we cannot guide the Honorable Minister on the content of his ministerial statement. The Honorable Minister of Energy is actually in order to bring a ministerial statement on a matter that he wishes to inform the public about. We cannot control what he has forgotten or what he needs to add in his ministerial statement. So the Honorable Member for Wengwa, you are out of order. We make progress. There was a question by the Honorable Member for Solwezi West. The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you very much, Honorable Member. Madam Speaker, in the immediate, this government has no plans, but these are the things that we are considering in the future. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Chifugu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, the power deficit has inflicted an economic calamity on our nation today, which will be heavier than COVID-19 by the time we'll be recovering. And we know the economic challenges that surely our country is going through and will go through in the post-era. At this stage, we want to appreciate what government is doing in terms of short and long-term measures, at least to supplement to these power challenges. My question is, Honorable Minister, as part of the information to the people out there, how many interconnectors we have with other countries, and how much power are we importing from these? Because at this stage, the only solution is importation to this challenge of load shedding. So how many interconnectors that we have with other countries, and how much power are we importing from these interconnectors? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Member. So far, Madam Speaker, we are using the Namibia interconnector, which is giving us about 120 megawatts. And also we have the one which connects us with Botswana, whereby we are still exporting the 60 megawatts. And also we have one that connects us to DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, which we are not using to import. But currently, as a country, we are importing our power from the Southern African pool. That's the only line we are using. Hence, you heard, even as I responded to the Honorable Member of Chikankata, that government, they are trying now to put another interconnector which can see us with Tanzania and Kenya. Because if we had this infrastructure, we would have also started importing power through that line. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Mambirima.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for giving the people of Mambirima to make a comment on this very important topic that we are discussing. Madam Speaker, one of the duties of opposition MPs is to give advice to the government of the day. Madam Speaker, it is just a little advice to our colleagues that they have failed, people have died, and it is time to go. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Mambirima, this is actually a time to ask questions on points of clarification. So that comment is unacceptable. We make progress. The Honorable Member for Chiengi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, thank you for giving the people of Chiengi this important moment. Madam Speaker, what I know is that we are a Christian nation, and if indeed we are a Christian nation, I think we should put God first. No matter how we try to do things on our own, it will not happen. My question to the Minister of Energy. Honorable Minister, why is it that your government has not turned to God to inquire what should be done? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Again, the Honorable Member for Chiengi. The Minister gave a ministerial statement, and we are supposed to ask questions on points of clarification. I didn't hear the Minister mention anything about God or whatsoever. So, Honorable Members, if there are no more questions, we can make progress. The last two members, the Honorable Member for Solwezi East.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. It's always a pleasure for me to ask a question. Honorable Minister, if you do recall, we have the Kabompo River with abundant water in northwestern province. And years back, there was the Kabompo hydropower station that started on that river. And this has been one of the government's assurances. I'd like to find out from you if the government has any plan to revamp that project, because the previous government, that project stood at 25%. So that can be a mitigation plan, either in the immediate plan or in the long term. Just your clarification. Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Member. Indeed, there are a number of projects that installed due to the reason known to the previous regime. But as this government, there's a lot that we are trying to analyze to make sure that the energy sector is properly put in the right position going forward. So there are a lot of studies that are going on, both in the northern circuit and also southern circuit, to make sure that where there is potential of putting up new plants, we should do so, to make sure that energy is secured for this country. Because we believe as an administration that these are drivers for developmental programs of this country. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The last member, the Honorable Member for Kaumbwe.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, from your statistics, you are indicating that there is a deficit of 1,381 megawatts of power, of which currently we are producing 1,019 megawatts. My question is, from the Southern African Power Pool and the East African Power Pool, in short, from the region, from the existing power sources that the region has, is government ready to import power to meet the deficit? Do you have that money available to meet this deficit? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Member. What I was stating here, Madam Speaker, is that we are looking in that direction by putting up infrastructure that will support the issue of importing, and at the time when Zambia gets back to its feet, we'll be able to use the same line to export. So currently, we are not getting anything from the Eastern power pool of Africa. Right up now, we are getting our imports from the Southern power pool, whereby this government is putting up resources in phases to make sure that we continue increasing our imports to mitigate the crisis. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. We now move to questions for oral answer under Standing Order number 80. The Honorable Member for Lundazi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question number 80 from the people of Lundazi.
You said 8?
I said 80, Madam Speaker.
Your question is supposed
Oh, it's
to
question
be...
number 6. I saw 80. Question number 6, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Question number 6. The Honorable Minister of Local Government and Rural Development.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And thank you very much, Honorable Member of Parliament for Lundazi. And just to say, please concentrate when you're asking questions. The Honorable MP for Lundazi, Ms. Brenda Nyirenda, is asking the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development at A, whether the government has plans to construct a modern bus station in Lundazi Parliamentary constituency. At B, she wants to know, if so, when these plans will be implemented. And at C, she wishes to know what the estimated cost of the project will be. And at D, if there are no such plans, she wishes to know why. In response, Madam Speaker, I wish to inform the Honourable Member of Parliament for Lundazi as follows. Government has plans to construct a modern market in Lundazi Parliamentary constituency with the support from the German Development Bank, KfW. This will include construction of a market shelter, an administration block, as well as an ablution block. At P, the plans are underway, with the project scheduled to commence by the end quarter of this year, 2024. As a matter of fact, the procurement process for the project is on course, with designs and the BOQs already in place. The estimated cost of this particular project, Madam Speaker, is 20 million kwacha, and therefore D falls away as the plans are there. Thank you.
Thank you. Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Lundazi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, for that answer. The people of Lundazi are suffering because that station was built way before independence. The question that I have for you, Honorable Minister, is when are we likely to have the contractor on site?
The Honorable Minister of Local Government and Rural Development.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Honorable Member, it is true what you said, that the people of Lundazi may have been suffering the lack of this facility since independence 60 years ago. This party, your government has only been in power or in authority for shy of 3 years. And I've told you that by end of this year, this project will begin. Just for avoidance of doubt, there are only 3 months before this year comes to an end. So within this period, you will see some activity, and I'm very hopeful that at that point, you yourself will be there available to commission this project that this party is initiated for your voters.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Lundazi, do you have another question?
Yes, Madam Speaker. It may not really be a question, but it's just to say the people of Lundazi are grateful. I submit.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Bwengwa.
Thank you very much, Honorable Madam Speaker. And Minister, thank you for your responses. Minister, kindly tell me between the period 2011 when the PF took over power to 2021? Was there a bus stop in Lundazi, or this bus stop, it is going to be a new bus stop, or there was a bus stop before during the time of PF, or maybe you are trying to put up a new one? Please let the people of Zambia know, and I'm also interested when. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Minister of Local Government and Rural Development.
Madam Speaker, let me first respond to the gratitude from Honorable Member of Parliament for Lundazi. This is as it ought to be. I take it with humility that you are grateful about what this government is doing to make sure that your people are now traveling from a semblance of a transport hub called bus stop. And as I go to the question from the MP for Wengwa, not just since independence, since people started living in that place called Lundazi, which they were there at creation, there has been no bus station to call a bus station. Of the magnitude that the Honorable Member of Lundazi has been inquiring about. What has been there, however, is a place where buses would conveniently come, drop people, and take them back. But obviously, from the question that I've answered, I've stated that this particular facility will have much more than just a place where buses can come for people to embark and disembark. It will have an ablution block. That's what I said. And it will also have a market shelter. That's what I said. It will also have an administration block, which will have offices for officers to operate from there. Obviously, to mark a huge difference from the way things were before. And it is completely unfortunate, Honorable Member of Parliament for Wengwa, for you to compare us with what used to happen before, and especially the era of PF. It would be completely unfair, because PF had their own ways of doing things. We have our own ways. So you cannot compare apples and oranges. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Lundazi. You have a point of order?
Yes, Madam Speaker. It is humiliating to think that from independence, the people of Lundazi have never had even a shelter. If the minister got my question very well, I asked whether the government has any plans to put up a modern infrastructure. But for him to say from the time and the age, Lundazi has never had anywhere where we could be able to get buses from, that is so humiliating for our people. Is the minister in order? When answering a question from this member of Bwenga, who has never even been to Lundazi, to insinuate that the previous government never did anything for the people of Lundazi, and yet in Livingstone and Choma, you are enjoying beautiful bus stops, and that is where I saw it and I demanded that it should be done in Lundazi. I submit.
The Honorable Member for Lundazi, I get your point, but the manner you've raised your point of order, you didn't even cite, and then you debated about another market in Livingstone. When you raise on a point of order, just be precise, and you cite the breach that has been committed. Just be precise. Don't debate your point of order, so that the presiding officer can respond. Now you have debated, you even went to Livingstone, saw something in Livingstone, try to bring it this way. So your point of order is not admissible. We make progress. The next question. Oh, there's an indication for another point of order. What is your point of order, Honorable Member for Chieng?
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I've just forgotten the standing order number, but it relates to the Minister of Local Government. Madam Speaker, is the Minister of Local Government in order to pretend to be calm today when we all know what kind of a person he is? It's worrying, Madam Speaker. We want him to be the true himself in the Parliament. He's in order to pretend. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
So, Honorable Member, you can't remember the standing order that has been breached? That point of order actually is very difficult to make a ruling. Because now it's like we are all forced to assess the mood of the minister. For me, my duty is just to listen to what he's saying and what he's bringing to the floor of the House. Whether he's calm, he's not happy, he's annoyed, I think that is another thing. The most important thing is, have we gotten the message that he has brought to the House? Honorable Minister, I don't know whether you are calm, you are what, but like I said, what is important is the content of the message that the Honorable Minister has brought to the House. Were we able to get the message? Was it loud and clear? Was it said in a parliamentary way? I think that is how far we can go. Rather than assessing the calmness of the minister and so forth, I think that we cannot do. We make progress. Next question, the Honorable Member for Lufubu.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Question 7. Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Mines and Minerals Development, the Acting Minister of Mines and Minerals Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Honorable Member for Lufubu, Honorable Kolala, is asking the Minister of Mines the following questions. A, whether government is aware of the mining activities at Kantobo Mine in Ngabwe Chiefdom in Lufubu Parliamentary Constituency. B, if so, which company was awarded the license to conduct the mining activities in the area? C, what minerals are being extracted from the mine? D, why the local traditional leadership was not notified of the mining activities? And E, what measures are being taken to ensure that the local community benefits from the mining activities? The government's response, Madam Speaker, is as follows. To A, government is aware of the mining activities taking place at Kantobo Mine in Ngabwe Chiefdom in Lufubu Parliamentary Constituency. To B, Kantobo Mine Limited was awarded license number 8310-HQ-SML by the Ministry in Ngabwe District of Central Province, valid from 30th November 2005 to 29th November 2030. C, the company was granted the small-scale mining license to extract minerals which include copper and cobalt. D, in line with the Mines and Minerals Development Act number 11 of 2015, which places the responsibility to get consent from the local traditional leadership with the license holder after grant of mining right in 2005, government through the Ministry of Mines and Mineral Development ensured that Kantobo Mining Limited obtained consent from the traditional leadership responsible for the area before conducting mining operations. E, government is undertaking measures aimed at ensuring the local community benefits from the mining activities by facilitating employment opportunities for the local people and ensuring that local people participate in the supply of goods and services to the mining company. In addition, Madam Speaker, government is encouraging formation of cooperatives by local people in order for them to participate in the exploitation of mineral resources within their community. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Supplementary questions? The Honorable Member for Lufubu.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, now that you know that the people of Lufubu are not participating and are not benefiting anything, tell us, how are you going to help us that they should also start benefiting, and when exactly? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Acting Minister of Mines and Minerals Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank the Honourable Member for the follow-up questions. Madam Speaker, let me make it very clear that all members of Parliament, by the principle that government is made up of three arms, which includes this legislature, all members of Parliament are therefore part of government. Oftentimes on the floor of this House, ministers have asked members of Parliament to be involved in government activities. And with respect to this, if the Honourable Minister is aware that local communities are not participating in these operations, we expect that these matters will be taken up at that level, dealt with relevant authorities, from those at the district, and indeed to the central government here. So I urge the Honourable Member for Lufubu, Honourable Kolala, that if that is the situation, he must engage with us in government to ensure that it is corrected. This is a requirement of government for local people to participate in economic activities that take place in their area. The other issue which he had raised in his question was that of, I'm aware, and the Honourable Member is also aware, that there may have been certain issues between traditional leaders and so on, but certainly some traditional leaders were made aware that this is taking place. But again, that matter that requires the involvement of members of Parliament. That's why we are elected, to represent the people, to straighten some of these matters. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Next question, the Honourable Member for Chinsali.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question number 8.
The Honourable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honourable Mukosa Chinsali wants to find out from the Minister of Health, A, how many medical doctors and nurses are there in Chinsali district as of February 2024? B, whether the number of health personnel at A was adequate for the district, and C, if not, what the deficit was. Madam Speaker, our response is that in A, as of February 2024, Chinsali district had a total of 59 medical doctors and 214 nurses. B, the number of health personnel, that is, doctors and nurses, was not adequate for the district. C, for the current deficit for medical doctors stands at 8 and 115 for nurses, respectively. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Supplementary questions, the Honourable Member for Chinsali.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honourable Minister, you are saying that at the time the number of medical personnel were not adequate. How many
did we need to have for them to be adequate in the district? That is for both doctors and nurses. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Madam Speaker, we need actually junior resident doctors. We are supposed to have 40, but as of September, we had only 28, so it reduced by 12. Senior doctors, 15. By September, 27. Medical specialists, 4. In February, by September, we had 6, deficit 8. Nurses, 180. By September, 180. Midwives, 34. In February, and in September, 32. Total 115. I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chinsali.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So, Honorable Minister, considering that we have inadequate medical personnel in Chinsali, are we expecting you to recruit more medical personnel who you are going to send to Chinsali so that we can have adequate medical personnel to look after the welfare of the Chinsali people? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you for the follow-up question. Indeed, as you have known, this government does not discriminate. Whenever there is recruitment, it is scattering the whole country. And except that we have improved in the number of infrastructure that has been established, meaning there is need for more recruitment. But the numbers we have, they are not equal to the envelope we have. So the 4,000 that are being recruited, Chinsali will also benefit. I thank you.
Next question. By prior arrangement, the Honorable Member for Momba will ask the question on behalf of the Honorable Member for Dundumwezi. The Honorable Member for Momba.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question number 9.
The Honorable Minister of Small and Medium Enterprise Development.
Madam Speaker, the Honorable Member of Parliament for Dundumwezi constituents asks the Minister of Small and Medium Enterprise Development the following questions. A, how many cooperatives in Dundumwezi parliamentary constituents obtained loans from the Citizen Economic Empowerment Commission for the purchase of solar-powered mill hammer mills, and what the cost of each hammer mills was? Madam Speaker, our response, I wish to start by informing the Honorable Member of Parliament from Dundumwezi and this August House that the empowerment products by government through Citizen Economic Empowerment Commission are currently dispersed at district level, not constituency level. In this case, Dundumwezi parliamentary constituency is in Kalomo district. To this effect, there were 4 cooperatives who obtained loans to purchase solar-powered hammer mills in 2023. In 2024, the area received 2 more small milling plants. This means a total of 6 cooperatives obtained loans. The solar-powered hammer mills costed at 100,000 each, and since there were 4, the total value of 400,000 was approved for disbursement in 2023. For 2024, the 2 small side milling plants disbursed were worth 185,000. This brings the total of 585,000. This was disbursed in Kalomo district where Dundumwezi constituency is. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Supplementary questions? Okay. Next question. The Honorable Member for Lunte. Not in the House. The question lapses. The next question. The Honorable Member for Mulobezi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question number 11.
The Honorable Minister of Local Government and Rural Development.
Thank you once again, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Mr. Mawenga, the Honorable Member of Parliament for Mulobezi Parliamentary Constituency, is asking the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development at A, why some councils have not been painting faded road markings and speed humps within their localities. At B, whether the local councils have a program of patching up potholes as soon as they appear on the roads in their localities. At C, if so, what is the delay in patching up potholes is, and when the demolition of illegal constructed structures countrywide will be conducted? Our response, Madam Speaker. Most local authorities are unable to constantly do road markings and install speed humps due to budgetary constraints. Local authorities have a program to maintain township roads, including carrying out pothole patching under the Department of Engineering Services. At C, the delays in the maintenance of township roads, including patching up potholes, as soon as they appear, is due to the budgetary constraints referred to in A above. Further, most local authorities largely depend on government grants for road maintenance, as they are not capable to generate sufficient resources to sustain road maintenance activities. At D, the local authorities are mandated to enforce development control under the Urban and Regional Planning Act No. 3 of 2015. Under this program, Madam Speaker, local authorities carry out the demolition of illegal constructed structures as an ongoing activity. The ministry that I'm privileged to run has continued to provide oversight to the local authorities to ensure enforcement of provisions of the Act, including addressing illegal developments. Madam Speaker, the country is large, and we have a tendency in this country of people who do not want to adhere to the Regional Planning Act building in the hours of darkness. Therefore, I want to take advantage of this question to appeal to our citizens that it is within their right to make sure that they demand for planning and building authority each time they see something that is being built in places that look suspicious. We have just concluded our integrated development plans for all the 116 districts, a document that we intend to adhere to the latter, and therefore I want to make a call again and appeal that let us depart from the old ways of doing things, of disregarding the planned development agenda, and stick to the old rule, because we need these cities, these developing towns, even after we are gone. We do not want a situation such as what happened in Lagos, Madam Speaker, where at one point the congestion just closed a whole city. It is because of lack of planning, and I want to make an appeal once again to all citizens to help us in this regard.
Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Chifugu.
Honorable Minister, you have said the demolition of illegal structures is an ongoing process. in your ministry. Honorable Minister, when is your ministry going to demolish illegal structures that were built on Forest 27, since it's an ongoing activity? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Local Government and Rural Development.
Madam Speaker, I want to take advantage of this question so that we can make clarity to this matter, maybe once and for all. I am the one who made that pronouncement that the Forest 27 had been encroached by the people who were there before us. It was a matter that was topical in this Parliament. It was a matter that the Minister of Lands then came with a whole list, because we demanded to know the list of the people who had benefited from the destruction of the water aquifer, which has caused a lot of harm on the Chalimbana River. The argument at that point, Madam Speaker, was the fact that it was a water recharge area. It still remains a water recharge area, which, if disturbed, is going to contaminate the water system, the underground water system in that particular aquifer, and consequently would also dry up Chalimbana River, which would also affect the Chongwe River. At the time of those arguments, Madam Speaker, we did mention that when we come into office, courtesy of the Zambian people which they gave us, we were going to demolish whatever was built in that Forest 27, which was a water aquifer. On the first week, when I was appointed as Minister of Local Government, I, together with the Minister of Lands then, Honorable Muchima, did go to see for ourselves what kind of developments there were. At that point, Madam, we did open files in the Ministry of Lands, and we found out that at the time when we were having so much concern about the proliferation of buildings in that Forest 27, the President then had gone ahead to degazette that piece of land. So, Honorable Member of Parliament for Chifu, the degazation of land itself does not mean that it was the right thing to do. At the time when these buildings started coming up, with nearly 90% of the beneficiaries not having gone through the due process of acquiring land, they were just handpicked, and all of them, save for 5%, were PF members, cabinet ministers, and so on and so forth. And the chickens came home to roost, Madam Speaker, because at one point, some of them went to court. And there are revelations there that after they acquired these properties, they sold to unsuspecting citizens of this country. Those are the facts that we have on the ground. Now, to cut the long answer short, is that it has become a legal matter, because the President then, at the time when the echoes were so loud about the destruction of the water aquifer, the President went ahead and appended his signature to degazette that piece of land. The effects, the negative effects as a result of that signature of that President has not changed anything. The Chalimbana River still remains threatened. The only thing we did is to make sure that beyond a certain point, the forest is reserved, and we indicated that no one should cut trees around that area, because with a bit of fortune, the recharge can actually rebuild itself. That is the answer I have for you. If it was me alone, I would have brought those things down a long time ago. But remember, we are all bound by the law. Madam Speaker, with your permission, maybe. I've observed that no one is talking today. Yesterday I wasn't there. Is anything wrong, Honorable Member? Everything is okay. I thank you.
Honorable Minister, everything is okay. People are asking questions, and the ministers are they are responding to the questions that have been raised. The clerk will now read the order of the day.
thanks the President's address, motion of 17th September, resumption of debate.
When the House adjourned yesterday, Tuesday, 17 September 2024, the House was considering the motion moved by the Honorable Member for Kankoyo that the thanks of this Assembly be recorded for the exposition of public policy contained in the President's address. Any further debate? The Honorable Member for Pemba.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for giving the good people of Pemba constituency to debate the motion on the floor of this House. Madam Speaker, His Excellency, the President of this Republic, Dr. Hakainde Hichilema, in his address, acknowledged and sympathized with the Zambian people, especially with the challenges that we are going through as a result of the drought that was brought about by the El Nino weather. Madam Speaker, this drought indeed has brought in a lot of challenges. It has slowed down the economic growth. A total number of 84 districts have serious challenges in terms of clean water for people and animals. The load shedding, Madam Speaker, has affected the generation of electricity, and as a result, most of our small businesses, including big businesses, have serious challenges to manage their businesses. Madam Speaker, most of our farmers failed actually to harvest, especially in these 84 districts. Madam Speaker, Pemba constituency has not been spared to these challenges. As a result of this drought, Madam Speaker, 22,216 households and 45,000 animals are in their need of clean water. Madam Speaker, it is expected that by the end of October, 90% of our dams will dry up because of this same challenge. Madam Speaker, the only reliable source of water for my constituency, the CBD Pemba district, the dam called Likwele, has dried up. Madam Speaker, this has put a very serious challenge to our people. Madam Speaker, we are not just seated as a constituency and as a district. Under 2023-2024 budget, we allocated and we had the resources approved to put up water schemes to public institutions, and this is a response to His Excellency Dr. Hakainde Hichilema that we need to have tap water in public institutions. Madam Speaker, I wish to indicate that I've taken time to engage public and private institutions in search of this commodity called water. Madam Speaker, the challenge for Pemba district, especially the CBD, is quite big. We have
a deficit of 260 cubic liters of water that we are supposed to consume per day. Actually, the total amount of or quantity of water the district is supposed to consume in terms of the CBD is 435, and we are only able to supply 175 cubic liters to the people. Madam Speaker, I take this opportunity to appeal to the companies, the institutions that are visited to support our small district in terms of boreholes, that is hand pumps and commercial boreholes, so that our animals and our people will have clean water. Madam Speaker, with these few words, I submit and thank you once again for the opportunity given.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kabwe Central.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity you have given to people of Kabwe Central constituency to add a voice on the debate and on the presidential speech. I must say that I want to thank the President of the Republic of Zambia, Dr. Hakainde Hichilema, for the speech that he delivered in this House, whose theme was enhancing national resilience, sustaining socio-economic gain in the face of adverse effect of climate change. I want to recommend the government indeed, because the situation in which we are in Zambia, the effect of the drought, indeed, it has hit us hard. But I want to thank the government because of the positive responses that they have done so far. I want to say that the drought is a natural disaster, or to say it's an act of God. I've heard one of our colleagues who are saying, why don't you seek God or ask God why this is happening? Unfortunately, we have no right to question God, but what we need to do is, in such a situation, what do we need to do? Maybe God is want to teach us something as Zambian people that we do not know. As it is said that people perish because of lack of knowledge. We have the natural sun that we have been given freely, that we can generate power from. It's the time for us Zambians to wake up from the slumber, to utilize other sources of power that can help our people. So this is not something that we can question God, but I thank God that a new dawn government is in the right trajectory to utilize the sun, to utilize maybe other possible coal, so that we make sure that even if there is drought, then we do not have these problems of power shortages going forward. I want to commend you, government, and the President and his team. You are doing a commendable job. But just to call upon Zambian people to respond positively, this is a business opportunity that I've seen that there's rich response from the Zambian people. Even when they are given a power purchasing agreement, but we still little on the ground that is happening, especially from our local people, businesses that have been given the power purchasing agreement. Hence now the reason why the President now even had to go to China to ask for our colleagues who can come and participate in this industry. So as Zambians, it's a wake-up call, and we should seize this opportunity for us to make sure that we are able to generate power from our natural sun. I want also to mention that coming from our presidential speech, page 12, page 13 to page 23, the President talked about the effect of drought having affected our water supply in our communities. Indeed, this is a challenge, especially for our town, Kabwe. We have a big challenge because right now, the water wells are drying up. We are hitting dry boreholes when we try to drill boreholes. And I know that there is a program which is sponsored by EU and also by the German government wanting to help our water utility to install other water pipes and just to rehabilitate Mungush Dam. Since this is a disaster and the President declared that it's a disaster. I want to request that maybe the ministry involved should have a conversation with the institutions that wants to help us to make sure that they speed up the negotiations so that we can see the start of the rehabilitation of the water system in Kabwe as quick as possible. And also just to make a further appeal again to the Ministry of Energy that it is an urgent for them to give us dedicated lines to the water points, the boreholes and the water pumps, so that our people of Kabwe, they have water. Right now it's really a crisis. If you came to Kabwe, you will see that people have got problems. And also just to appeal to the government and local authorities, we had a program of Zambia program where certain boreholes were sunk in certain schools. But this time they should open up to the communities to make sure our people are able to access water. I also want to mention something on page 27, where our president mentioned about the constitution review reforms. This is important for us as a country. Unfortunately, some people misinterpreted him, but I want to say that he means very well. Every reader, any reader who is very good would not miss this point, because I know that the time will come when he would have served his 2 terms, but he wouldn't want to see a leader who will come wanting to perpetuate himself to be in office. Something has to be done to the Constitution, so there's no one who can take advantage of the lacunas that are there in the Constitution. Or not just also to emphasize that there is great need to see to it that we do delimitation. Some of our constituencies are indeed very big. My constituency too, even if some people think it's a small constituency, it's a very big constituency with the high population, and because it is in the central, you find that even people from, I harbor most of the people from Wacha constituency. I harbor most of the people from various constituencies around the province. They come to do their businesses in my constituency. And you can imagine just one constituency, 10 markets. It means that constituency is too big. It needs also to be considered when the time of delimitation comes. So I want also to recommend that when the time comes to do constitutional reform, let us make sure that we consider in our constitution to put it in black and white the number of women that we should have, the percentage. We should not overlook this. Our democracy is threatened. You can see the numbers in our house and other decision-making process. You find that it is very, very low. But if it's enshrined in the Constitution, we will not labor much to make sure that we attain the 50-50% representation, especially in a political position like members of Parliament. So, Madam Speaker, I want to say thank you so much once more for this opportunity. Just that I support fully the presidential speech, and it came at the right time, and especially all the measures that are being taken to make sure that we respond positively to the drought are very welcome, and the Kabwe Central is benefiting very, very well from all these programs. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Nalikwanda.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much for giving me time to debate on the motion on the floor. I'll talk about the CDF, which the President mentioned in the speech. Madam Speaker, over time, all developmental projects in the country were being done through the central government. The resultant of that is that certain areas were being developed. Certain areas were not developed. So there is that disparity in our country. Because of this, CDF was brought in as a way of bringing decentralization to the people. Because of decentralization, we have seen money being budgeted for all the constituencies in the country. Now, because money is being budgeted for in each constituency, the local people are able to determine what they want on the ground. If in Nalikwanda they want a road, they are able to buy earth-moving equipment so that they can do their own feeder roads. If in Nalikwanda they are getting water from shallow wells, they are able to budget for boreholes in the constituency. As a result, CDF, we can see an effective way of investing in the country. It means you are able to get a project at the right price, within the right time, and the efficiency. We are able to budget directly for the project, and the community are able to come on board to see what governmental projects they want in their constituency. With this, in Rwanda, Madam Speaker, we have been able to buy earth-moving equipment. We have been able to construct clinics. We have been able to construct classrooms where there were no classrooms. So, in Rwanda, we are happy with the way CDF is working. And we commend government for increasing the amount of CDF going to CDF. And I would urge the Minister of Finance or the government to increase on the funding for CDF, because that's the only way local communities can be improved. The second area I want to debate about is media. Madam, media is one of the important entities in the world. Their main function is to communicate and inform the public. Now, because they are able to communicate and inform the public, they have got the power to create and change public opinion. They have got the power to control discussions. They have got the power to change society. So it means this is a very important entity in the world. Now, if this entity is very important, what do they do? They have got the propaganda machinery and the equipment which they can use to persuade people to believe in their ideas. In the previous government, Madam, the media suffered a lot. Whenever they were talking something which was contrary to what government wanted, they would close such a media outlet. However, in the current system, it's a different scenario. I'll give you an example. Prime TV was closed. Movie TV was closed. Interstate Radio was closed. Combined Radio was closed. But when the new government came into power, what did they do? Even the Post newspaper was closed. All these entities which were closed were reopened, and they're able to operate freely. No one is controlling whatever they want to write. In addition, apart from reopening those which were closed, there are new entities which have been opened. I'll give you an example. Quat Radio in Vovi is operating now. 3FM Radio is operating now. So in short, even in Daily Revelation is operating, Times Media is operating. So we can see that there's free space for the media to operate in Zambia without any control from anybody. So for me, I feel the media should be able to operate the way they want, and they should be able, that's the way. Their main aim is to communicate and inform. It's up to them to decide what they should communicate to the people and what should not be communicated to the people. So with this is the right place where the media should be able to operate. Madam, thank you very much.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chama South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, let me state from the outset that His Excellency's presentation to this August House last Friday was not only inspiring, but indeed gave hope to many of us and many Zambians that listened to his speech. If I
maybe refer to what he mentioned on the infrastructure development. He mentioned that in Eastern Province, we are having Chadiza-Chipata Road, now called HH Road, being worked on. He had shown commitment that Chipata-Lundazi stretch is actually being worked on. We will be appealing to this government that kindly consider an extension of that road from Lundazi to Chama, because if that road ends at Lundazi, Madam Speaker, you'll be interested that 90% of agricultural products that you see coming from Eastern Province are actually coming from Chama. And not only that, it will also shorten the route going to East Africa. And we are grateful that RDA, for the first time, Madam Speaker, is doing sport improvement. It used to take 4 hours, at times 5 hours, to travel a distance of 160 kilometers from Chama to Lundazi. But now we are able to take an average of 2 hours because of what RDA is doing on that portion. Madam Speaker, coming to the constitution that the President had hinted, indeed, this piece that we have, which is Cap 1 of our land, has a lot of lacunas. The reason is very simple, and I want to appeal to the President. The constitution we have is actually incomplete work. It was abandoned at drafting stage. This piece of registration we have, it was actually abandoned at registration at drafting stage. We are privileged to have people who were involved in the formulation of this constitution. Let the President maybe sit down with Madam Eva Jala. She will explain. She is one of the best drafters, not only for this country, but for the entire continent of Africa. What had happened, Madam Speaker, was that when the work was done at 30%, the former Minister of Justice, allow me to mention his name, Honorable Winter Kabimba, went to where the drafting was taking place and told everyone, can you stop? And they packed. This is the reason why we have this piece of the Constitution that has a lot of lacunas. And it is the duty of this august House, Madam Speaker, to refine the Constitution. For example, if one decides to withdraw presidential candidates, if one decides to withdraw, everything is cancelled. And this can be done over and over. It can take 8, even 10 years, you are not having elections. Just because of that action. So it's very, very important, Madam Speaker, that as members of Parliament, we will be appealing to the Executive, Minister of Justice, do not shy away to make decisions. Bring the Constitution. Let's build consensus. There are certain issues which are not contentious, like MPs going back into the councils. Madam Speaker, the fight against corruption. The President emphasized that this fight should not see the tribe, the color, and religion of individuals involved. We have to support the head of state on that core. We are developing a tendency where if someone is involved in corruption, and is supposed to be answerable, we rush to traditional leaders. When we are being involved in corruption, we have traditional leaders there. The answer is no. And should we allow such tendencies to take root, we will not fight corruption. So it's very clear that the people of Chama South are in support of what the president had just hinted. CDF, we're extremely excited. He mentioned that he is going to increase again this year. We can't wait, Madam Speaker. CDF is changing people's lives in my constituency. Yes, we might have certain difficulties to do with implementation by the councils, but we are there to correct those deficiencies that have been identified. For the first time, our children are going to skills development, going to boarding schools, which ordinarily they would not afford. We have earth-moving equipment being procured. What we need now is actual execution on the ground, and we believe we will do that. So for us, Mr. President, we are grateful and we will remain grateful, especially that you've increased, let that increment go towards probably infrastructure, loans and grants, so that more people can benefit. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, Chama South fully endorses and supports what the President presented last Friday. I humbly submit, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Any further debate? The Honorable Member for Chavuma.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the people of Chavuma stand here to support the presidential address to this House, and we are grateful to His Excellency, Dr. Hakainde Hichilema. He did not, Madam Speaker, massage the challenges Zambia is facing today. And what is important, Madam Speaker, to His Excellency, the President outlined the challenges which the people of Zambia are facing, and not only the people of Zambia, but also the people in the Republic of Namibia, the people in the Republic of Tanzania, the people in the Republic of Congo, the people in the Republic of Mozambique, because, Madam Speaker, drought has not left any country in Southern Africa. Yesterday, Madam Speaker, in the morning, I was in the Republic of South Africa. And the challenges which Zambia is facing, our neighboring countries are facing the same challenges. So, because these challenges are well known to everyone, this is the reason why it is very, very difficult for our brothers and sisters in the opposition, the former government, to stand and say negative about what the President said in this House. Madam Speaker, the President addressed the issue of energy. The issue of energy, Madam Speaker, is not only to do with electricity. The issue of energy is also to do with fuel. At the time when we were in opposition as UPND, when we said that fuel was expensive under the PF, we did comparisons. It was cheaper in neighboring countries. So I want our comrades from the opposition, when they stand to challenge UPND on the issue of the price of fuel, they should say fuel is expensive in Zambia while it is cheaper in this country. Because at the time, when we said fuel was expensive.
Order, Honorable Member. As the time is 16:40 hours, I suspend business for 20 minutes.
Well, thank you very much for staying with us on Parliament Television. The House has taken a 20 minutes health break, and on the floor of the House just before the break was Chavuma Member of Parliament, Mr. Victor Lumai, who's adding his voice to the motion of thanks that was moved by Kankoyo, to be placed on record for the public policy contained in the presidential address following the presidential address last week Friday by His Excellency the President of the Republic of Zambia when he opened the fourth session of the 13th National Assembly on Friday, 13th September.
And earlier on, the House did
Chadley House pupils and from Sweden, representatives from UNICEF Zambia, and also Vaccine Alliance Gavi, as well as the Global Fund representatives of various youth organizations in Zambia who were also present in the gallery at the beginning of business this afternoon. And so on behalf of the National Assembly, the Honorable Madam First Deputy Speaker welcomed the visitors to the National Assembly.
The other announcement made earlier in the day was to inform the House that the National Assembly of Zambia has established the Zambia Parliamentary Caucus on Post-Legislative Scrutiny, ZPCPLS, a voluntary group consisting of members of Parliament who are passionate about the implementation of effectiveness of legislation following its enactment. The caucus is therefore set to be launched on Thursday, which is tomorrow, the 19th of September 2024, in the amphitheatre here at Parliament Buildings at 10 hours. And in this regard, honourable members of Parliament were encouraged to attend the event, and she also said that this attendance is on a voluntary basis.
There was another announcement in which the Honourable Madam Speaker, First Deputy Speaker, informed the House that the National Assembly is in the process of producing a legislative chart that will be bearing photographs of all members of Parliament of the 13th National Assembly, and in this regard an officer from the Public and International Relations Department will be stationed at the main reception of Parliament buildings from today, Wednesday 18th to Friday 20th September 2024 to take photographs of all members of Parliament, and she urged all honourable members to ensure that their photographs are taken within the stipulated period.
So we do have 5 questions that were considered on the floor of the House. We'll be able to share with you some of the responses that we got from cabinet ministers, respective of their ministries, and later on we'll share with you the details of the 2 ministerial statements that were rendered on the floor of the House. For now, we'll take a short break and we'll be able to come back just before we cross back to the floor of the House at 17 hours. Keep watching Parliament Television.
To suffer from load shedding anymore, Livoltech is here to save the day. Imagine this. You're in the middle of an important task and boom, power cut. Frustrating, right? Well, not anymore. Introducing Livoltech, your go-to for advanced energy storage solutions. With Livoltech, you can store electricity and use it whenever you need it. Homes, schools, businesses, Livoltech powers them all. Our commitment to quality is unmatched, backed by a 10-year warranty. Picture this: happy families, productive businesses, and uninterrupted power supply. That's the Livoltech promise. So, why worry about power cuts? Choose Livoltech and embrace a future of energy independence. Contact us today to learn more. Livoltech, your trusted solar experts.